everyone, it's Dianne at Minerva. I hope you're all doing really well this week. And today I'm excited to share with you another of our Minerva Exclusive patterns. Now today we're making the Emma top. So this is a really lovely top with a trapeze silhouette. It has a lovely 3/4 length sleeve, a cowl neckline, and because it's a lovely pullover style, it is perfect for the beginner. Now you can dress this up or down depending on your fabric choices, and it is designed for a knit fabric. So a viscose jersey, a bamboo jersey, or maybe even a stretch velvet would look lovely for a special occasion. So it's a lovely simple shape and it would work well with either leggings or jeans, and depending on your styling would depend on how smart you want to make it look. So we're going to have fun making this today. And what we're going to be using is a Minerva Exclusive viscose jersey, and this particular one is called Tiger Paradise. Lovely shades of green there with the orange, the tiger running through it. It's really fun. Wash and prepare that fabric before we get started, and of course check your sizing with the packet. So our sizing is really size inclusive, but you do need to use a tape measure and check your measurements alongside the measurements in the pattern. Now sizing, it goes from an A to a J, and that is a 29-inch bust up to a 40-inch bust, and that range is drafted for a B cup. And then the next range is from a K to a T, and that is drafted for a 37-inch bust up to a 55-inch bust, and that one is drafted for a D cup. So do make your selection based on these measurements before we get started. Now once you've done that, we're ready to begin cutting our pattern pieces together. So let's go and do that now. Here we have our pattern pieces. So this is the front bodice. We're going to cut one piece on the fold. The fold line is here. Make a note of your circles and your markings, and the markings down the sides. Here we have our back bodice. Again, we're going to cut one piece on the fold. The fold line is here. Make a note of your markings. Here we have our sleeve pieces. So we're going to cut two, cut them as a pair. This is a straight grain. Note your markings. And then here we have the back neck facing. You're going to cut one. Note your markings. Now we're ready to begin making our top. So first of all, you want to wind half of your thread onto your machine spool. Then when you've done this, check your machine needle. Now as we're using a stretch fabric today, you do need to use a stretch or a ballpoint needle. So I'm using these jersey needles today, and I'm using the size 80. So you can use a 70 or an 80. Just test it on a piece of scrap before we begin to see what works best for you. You'll also need to use a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch. So if you're uncertain which is your stretch stitch on your machine, consult your manual, and if you don't have a specific one, you can alter the length of your zigzag stitch, also make it narrower and make the stitch shorter. Again, have a play around on a piece of scrap fabric and see how that works before we begin. And this is to ensure the stretch in the fabric when we're pulling it on and off so that our stitches don't snap. So let's begin. First of all, we're going to take our back piece and we're going to stay stitch around the back neck edge. Now the seam allowances on this particular pattern are 1.5 centimetres throughout. We're going to stay stitch at 1.3 from the raw edge. Now we're going to take our back neck facing, and with right sides together we're going to place it at the back neck. So if you line up your centre back point first of all and pin it in place. Stitch your facing in place. Now trim and clip into that facing. So we trim it first of all. Now clip into it. Now press the seam towards the facing like this, and we're now going to understitch it onto the facing a couple of millimetres away from the seam that we've just created. Now press 1 centimetre back of your facing to the wrong side like this. Then we're going to take our Minerva Maker label, if we're adding one, and we're going to add it at that centre back point. Fold your facing over. And this will be caught in with our stitching. So first of all, we're just going to pin this down so that it's easier to manipulate. Now edge stitch your facing down to the inside. Now take your front bodice piece and we're going to overlock this front top edge. So it's this curved edge along the top. Overlock that first of all, and then we're going to turn it right sides facing, and we're going to place it on top of our back piece, and we're going to line up these shoulder points here. So here is the back neck that we've just created. Here is the bit that we are going to overlock just here, and then we have a notch, look, just here. We're going to line that up with the edge of the back neck and pin that shoulder in place. Now we're going to stitch that with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, and this bit here at the front remains unfolded for now. We're just lining up that notch with the back edge. Do this on both sides and stitch in place. Now we're going to take that front facing piece that's sticking out like this. I've already started overlocking this and then realised I didn't need to do it just yet. We're going to turn it back so we've got that edge there snugly inside, and that lines up here. So we've got a little circle just here, and that lines up with a circle just here. So if you just pin that in place just for now, just to hold it. So it's wrapped around that edge. We're now going to overlock along the top here and along the shoulder. That will catch in that facing. Then we can flip it out to the outside. Do this on both sides. If you haven't got an overlocker, you could stitch it along and then zigzag finish it. So now we can flip that back to the inside like this and press the seam towards the front, and you can see that that's enclosed just there on both sides. Now with right sides facing, you're going to bring your front and your back pieces together like this. Do make sure that you line up all these markings down the side, and this will ensure that your fabric doesn't stretch or push out of place as we're stitching it. We're going to stitch this in place with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Make sure that you use your stretch stitch or your zigzag stitch to do this. Then once we've done that, we can edge finish it using your preferred method. Next, take your sleeve piece, fold it in half, right sides facing like this, bringing the underarm seam together. We're going to stitch this seam with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance and then edge finish it. Now we're going to add in our sleeve. So with your top the wrong way around like this, turn your sleeve the right way around. We're going to place it inside the armhole. Then you want to make sure you line up the top of the sleeve with the shoulder. Pin it in place. And then you'll have your notches that line up. So we have a notch here that lines up with this one. And then on the back, we've got two notches that line up with the 2 notches in the armhole just here. So pin at these points and also at the underarm point. Make sure that your underarm seam lines up with your side seam just here. Now finish pinning it the rest of the way around, and we're going to stitch that in place with a 1.5cm seam allowance with a stretch or zigzag stitch. Once your sleeves are in place, edge finish around the armhole, then also around the bottom of the sleeve with either a zigzag or an overlock stitch, and also the bottom hem. Once we've done this, we're going to press up both the sleeve hem and the bottom hem by 1.5cm. Press it all the way around, then once we've done this we can pin it and then top stitch it. So we're going to top stitch the hems from the right side. Now hem your sleeves with a 1.5cm hem. We're doing this from the right side, and if you give it a good press first, you will find that you don't really need to pin it. You can pin it if you wish, but you can feel where the inside of your hem is, and this acts as a guide. Hem the bottom of your top in the same way, pressing up 1.5cm and stitching it from the right side. So here is the finished top. I'm not trying it on today because it's not in my size. Cowl neckline, 3/4 length sleeve. Well, I hope you've enjoyed sewing along with me today. I think this is a really lovely top to make. Comfortable, easy for a beginner, and it has a really nice drape to it. I look forward to seeing all the different fabrics that this is made up in. So please remember to include any photographs with your comments because we do love to see them. Why not create a free account so that you can share all your makes here at Minerva and join in with our wonderful worldwide sewing community. And you can also get 10% off all your orders for a whole year if you join the Minerva Craft Club. That's all from me for today, but I hope to be back soon with more sewing inspiration for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.